Hey, Mr. Omi here again, trying to take the mystery out of history. Today we're talking about the beginning of the American Revolution. But first, before we talk about the American Revolution, who does it involve? Well, it involves the 13 colonies and the British king. Again, they're eventually going to lead to war because of the tension between them, but not right away. A couple of events happen first, okay? So, what's going to break this relationship up? After the French and Indian War, we know the colonists had to pay for it through taxes. The Stamp Act is a tax on paper goods, anything that had the king's stamp on it, like newspapers, marriage licenses, playing cards. But that's not it. He also taxed tea and sugar, things that the colonists really liked, and so they were very upset to have to pay all these taxes. Well, you gotta pay for war, but they still didn't like it. They didn't have any representation in Parliament either, so they will cry for no taxation without representation. That's going to bring us to the Boston Tea Party. Now, a lot of people think the Boston Tea Party was about protesting the tea tax, but it really wasn't. They were protesting the tea monopoly. The East India Tea Company was the only company to sell tea to the colonists. They didn't like it, so they dumped tea into the Boston Harbor to protest. Well, you do that, you're going to get punished, right? So the king punishes them. But they respond to that punishment by holding a meeting, the First Continental Congress, to which all of the colonies showed up. Oh, wait a minute. Not all the colonies showed up. Georgia didn't send anybody. Well, they did, but they actually got stuck in the mud in a rainstorm, so they never made it. But this is the first time the colonies act together, like the United States almost. Next, the Boston Massacre takes place. Well, I know you guys know what happened. Hundreds of people were killed, murdered innocently by British troops in Boston. Wait a minute. It wasn't hundreds of people, was it? Let's see. It was 1, 2, 3, 4... and 5? Really? 5's a massacre? Well, not really, but they're going to call it a massacre because they want other states to join them in their anger to throw off the king's rule. If it could happen in Boston, it could happen in Virginia. 5 dead colonists. So, anger will spread eventually, so. Another event we're going to talk about, well, Lexington and Concord. That is the beginning of the war. These actually start around Boston and Massachusetts. And the Minutemen are the ones who are going to fight this because we don't have an army. No, not the Minutemen, not the punk band, the Minutemen. We're talking about the Minutemen that were the militia. These guys were ready in a minute to go fight for their country. We don't have an army, but we have to rely on them. So, the shot heard around the world, Lexington and Concord.